hearing aids on their own are not very attractive.
If it were smaller, I think it'd probably be better.
I think the shape, the design of the hearing aid is obsolete.
We've all seen one of these before, haven't we? We know what it is and we know why it's there. In fact, it's a giveaway sign, a symbol almost, of the fact that the person who's wearing it is deaf. Being deaf myself is one of the first things I put on in the morning. Well, apart from my contact lenses and a few clothes. In fact, my hearing aid plays such an important role in my life. I've never actually stopped to think about how it looks, but there's one lady who has, and she's set about making hers look just the way she likes.
I want to make my hearing aids more attractive, and also because I am not ashamed of being deaf, so I want the hearing aids to be seen. I like the hearing aids to coordinate maybe with different outfits that I'm wearing. When I first lost my hearing, it was very painful, it was very hurtful, and it took a great deal of getting used to, and the hearing aids took a great deal of getting used to. It was very important for me to have a positive image of deafness at that time, and I got that from the deaf community, who I feel are positive about being deaf. People react to the covers mainly by finding them a bit strange. I've yet to find anyone else who's ever seen covers in this country, though they're more common amongst deafened people and deaf people in Canada and the United States.
What do you think, eh? Makes my hearing aids really stand out, didn't it? And with my short hair, you see me coming a mile off. But is this what you really want? Do you want to draw attention to this thing on your ear? Will you be surprised at just how many deaf people keep their aids a secret? In fact, the hearing aid is to be kept hidden as much as possible, and this is the most popular way to do it.
I was very ill in 1994. I had a very bad bronchitis, and I was given very strong antibiotics. This affected my hearing nerve. I was then advised to wear a hearing aid. When I first took this thing home, I just could not believe it, that I had to wear it. I felt terrible. So I kept looking at myself in the mirror, and my hand kept going over it in order to cover it. So one day I just said to myself, why don't I make a cover? I did not think that my idea would take off. In fact, I thought it was rather silly. But my friends helped me financially, and I have been going for 6 months. The response has been overwhelming. I am very pleased. In this room, John, is where the hair is prepared.
The hair? I mean,
Yes.
are you saying this is real human hair?
This is all European hair. When I get an order from a customer, we ask for a lock of hair. And in this room, they match it exactly. And from here, it goes on to the net processing, which is in the next room.
So have a look at that then.
Yes, sure. Well, John, in here, it is where the net is stitched.
The net?
The net. You see, we make a net to the shape of the hearing aid.
Right.
This is the third and final stage. This is where the hair is knotted to the net. I expect that people buy my product because they feel like I used to feel embarrassed. I mean, I am wearing one now, and I feel at ease. The people at the back don't know that I'm wearing one.
So far, we've seen two very different reactions to how people see themselves and their hearing aids. But do people really care? Well, I've come out and about to test their reactions to these babies. We're doing a little experiment.
Sure.
No,
I don't like experiments.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I can see what they are. Now that I like. That is quite sexy. Yeah, that's very sexy. And this is, I'm a Pisces, so that would fit nicely with me.
Quite nice. Yes, quite nice. Better than a plain one, I should think.
I think they are more suitable for children. If I were one, I'd feel rather stupid, because it would draw people's attention. No, I don't like them.
Oh, wow.
They look quite attractive, but I would say it depends on the type of person that's using them, the age that goes with it.
And what do you think of this?
That looks really disgusting.
It looks natural, so I would imagine if somebody doesn't want to know they're wearing a hearing aid, then this would be more appropriate than the two you showed me.
If you wore that, it might be helpful, but if somebody tried to talk to you and you couldn't understand what they were saying, they may think that you're stupid. But if they can see your hearing aid, then they know that you're deaf. But they won't change attitudes.
Maybe they feel embarrassed about it when they shouldn't do. In my opinion, they shouldn't do, but obviously some people do because of the stigma that might be attached to it, the way they've been brought up. But that's just me. I see things from a different perspective from up here.
And I think it would be much nicer if hearing aids came in different colours or different designs, the way that glasses do. And glasses are made in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. You couldn't do that with hearing aids, but you could make them in different colours and different designs on them. The second best is getting the hearing aid covers.
We all know that glasses are not worn just by people who lack vision. They are worn for many other purposes. I mean, people wear them at funerals to cover sadness. They wear them to protect their eyes from the sun. Also, they wear them to improve their image. I know of no one whose image has been improved by wearing a hearing aid. In today's market, you are looked upon by your appearance. If you go for a job or something like that, wearing a hearing aid is not the best thing that can happen to you.
Some deaf people, for example, have lost their jobs as a result of being deaf. But I do not think that the way to fight that discrimination and to counteract the shame about being deaf is to try and hide being deaf.
Whether you want to cover up or hide your hearing aid, wear it openly or not even wear one at all, that is your decision and yours alone. But once it's there, deafness is there to stay. And to be honest with you, some of these covers look rather fun. And if you can't beat them, you might as well join them.
Sorry,
A busy office where deaf and hearing people all work together as a team producing television programmes. In the past, this would have been impossible because of the lack of access. But now access is given through the use of interpreters and equipment so that everyone can work together easily.
The bill is not talking about more programs for deaf people on television as you can get it today. Have they all come together to discuss this? Are these demands realistic?
But equipment such as minicoms, faxes and computers are expensive and not always affordable. Employers are reluctant to employ deaf people, not only because they cannot hear, but also because of the costs involved. The government's Access to Work scheme has been a great help in changing attitudes and providing help with costs. But the government's budget for Access to Work was recently overspent by some £6 million. That's why the government recently introduced some changes to the scheme, leaving many deaf people confused about the new rules. So, to try and clear things up, here is See Here's guide to those changes.
Ah, boom. Could you put this on, please? I've sent this faxed off for you, so that's okay.
Okay. I think that I've got another one here.
Access to Work, to me, it's a very good scheme, it's a very good idea, and it's a way of enabling disabled people to have the tools to do their job properly and be on a par with everybody else. And for me, I've not had any problems. I've managed to have the tools that I asked for, and which is why I do the job I do. But I have heard of other people who have wanted certain things and they've not been successful.
Last Friday. What I want to do, I'm about to phone the implant team now to find out what time the operation will be. I'll let you know and then you can prepare the script, okay? Right here. Hello, Vanda. Hi, this is Terry here.
My experience of access through PACT has been not too bad because I've received a compact minicom, received a computer, a fax, a television with teletext subtitles, and I've had a flashing light, so I've had quite a good service, but it's still not enough, and I'm not sure that PACT actually understand what it is that I need as a producer. I need other equipment like a laptop, because when I'm away on location filming and I need to make changes to a script, I can't, I'm stuck. Hearing people are able to use dictaphones and I can't, so sometimes I need to look at videotapes because I can't do what other people do and listen to a dictaphone. So there are still a lot of restrictions, and I'm not sure that PACT really understand what it is that I need to be able to work on a par with hearing people.
Perhaps you'd like to follow it up. Sorry, phone. I've just applied for radio aids, which is absolutely wonderful because it enables me to cope with the team meeting situation. It's been very positive. I've never had any problems asking for equipment.
Any equipment from Access to Work or from PACT is for my needs in that particular job, no matter where I work. Now, I work for the BBC in London, but if I was to move to, say, Manchester, for example, if my needs stay the same, then I can take the equipment with me. But if my needs change, then I have to give the equipment back, and that creates a huge problem, because how do I know that my needs will be different until I actually get there? For example, when I was promoted from assistant producer to producer, my needs changed dramatically, but I'm still stuck with the same old equipment.
They certainly assessed my individual needs, and in fact they actually made a couple of phone calls to prove that I actually worked here, and they also called Bryn Brooks, the editor, and I also had one visit as well in person, just to see what my workplace was like. You know, and they actually looked at my own needs. It wasn't just, right, okay, you're deaf, you automatically need a phone. They wanted to know why, and they needed to be fully aware of the thing that I specifically needed.
If Access to Work had turned me down and wouldn't provide me with the equipment, I would have taken it a lot further. I would have complained, because they say that that's what they're there for. They're there to provide equipment, you know, money and tools to help you do your job.
If you're unemployed and you need things like equipment to help you get and hold down a job, then they will be provided. There's no upper limit to how much can be provided. Subject to assessment, you could have a minicom, a fax, a computer, an interpreter for interviews, and so on, all paid for by the government. If, however, you're already in employment, like the See Here staff here, then things are completely different, and that's left many deaf people confused. So what are the new rules? As many of you know, before you could access up to £21,000 over a 5-year period. That's now been reduced to 3 years, but there's no upper limit, and also your employer has to make a contribution. At the end of 3 years, you have to reapply for access to work. If the cost is small, for example under £300 for, say, a minicom, then the firm has to pay the whole amount. If the cost is between £300 to £10,000, then the government will pay 80% and your employer has to pay 20%. If it's over £10,000, then the government pays the lot. So all in all, it looks very good. People starting work have access to resources to enable them to take up employment. And for those already in employment, the employer's contributions aren't so excessive that they'll be put off. But there's still one big question. What could deaf people possibly need that costs £10,000? The answer, of course, is for full-time interpreter support, but that's not easy to get. We've been assured by the Access to Work team that interpreters play an important part in the scheme. If a worker is assessed as being in need of a full-time interpreter, then one will be made available. But just because you're deaf and want an interpreter doesn't mean that you'll automatically get one full-time. It's not what you want that they assess, but what you really need in order to do your job on an equal basis. And these needs and how they are interpreted is a grey area. If you need more information, contact your PACT personnel at your local job centre, or write to this address coming up next. Paul Kazmarek at Disability Services Division, Employment Service, Rockingham House, 123 West Street, Sheffield, S1 4ER. Telephone 0114 259 6459 or Minicom 0114 259 6350.
Now let me get this clear. You have to raise another £10,000 to do your voyage. Right, now I'm going to make a deal with you here, okay?
Right, okay.
You must raise £5,000 by the end of May 1996.
Okay.
Do that, and see here, we'll give you the other £5,000.
I'm stunned. Thanks, it's a totally unexpected surprise. Thank you, I'll do my best for you. All right.
Remember that clip? That was Paul eagerly planning his sailing trip around the world. Now after that, a lot of people who saw the clip responded with letters of support and money. And now I've come down here today to St Catherine's Dock. Paul is down here, over there, and I'll be meeting him later to find out what he's been doing for the last 6 months.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I've not seen you for ages.
Yeah, it must be last October.
So this is the boat then that you're going to sail right round the world?
Yeah, we're just putting the name on it, Time and Tide.
A lot of cleaning going on?
That's right. Do you want to come aboard?
Yeah. So what's this then?
This is called a foresail.
And that goes all the way to the front?
Yeah, that's right along there.
God, it must be really confusing.
This is a spinnaker, and that's a halyard.
Halyard, right.
Yeah, and our berth's down there.
Can we go and have a look?
Yeah, come on.
So how did you manage to raise all that money then?
It was a lot of hard work. Since last October, I've written letters to companies. I've had to get up really early in the morning to go to car boot sales, selling all sorts of junk. Also, my father has written a history book to raise money for me, and my parents have supported me a lot. Friends have also been of help, and the See Here viewers. After they saw the show, I received lots of donations. Also, one pal of mine had an auction night, which was well attended with people all dressed up. It raised a lot of money. It's all gone really well since that programme.
So what are you doing here then at St Catherine's Dock?
We arrived here yesterday from Southampton, so we can prepare everything for tomorrow when we go to Tower Bridge, just by HMS Belfast, for the naming ceremony of the boat, Time and Tide. That's why we're busy preparing it for tomorrow.
Well, you've still got 3 months to go, so what will you be doing?
We're going to be very busy. We're going to Cowes on the Isle of Wight, so that the sponsors can come out for a day on the boat. Then we're entered in the Fastnet race. We have to be good enough to qualify to go around the world, or we will be disqualified. That's the rules, so we're going to be very busy.
The yachts will leave Southampton on the 29th of September in '96, and the first leg is down to Rio de Janeiro. Then they head on south to Cape Horn, go along the bottom of the world until you get to Wellington in New Zealand. There's quite a long stop over there where the boats come out of the water for a big overhaul and maintenance period. Then it's on to Sydney, from Sydney to Cape Town in South Africa, and then across to Boston in the United States, and then back to Southampton, finishing in the middle of July in '97.
Go on then, finish off what you're doing. Right, now I know that you worked really hard raising all that money and you did really well, so you might think that that's it. Well, it's not. There's still the camera, remember?
I remember, you did tell me.
Yeah, now let me show you how to use it. Now watch carefully. That's for zooming in and out, and then what you do is you press here. Now, hang on, let me show you. So what you've got to do is you just stand here and sign what's been happening to the camera and then just switch it off. Or you ask one of the crew members to do the same thing.
So I just say what's been going on. Okay.
Right, I hope everything goes really well for you tomorrow and that you have good weather for your trip. Now, you may remember that last year Paul and I made a deal and he had to raise £5,000 before May. Well, he's done that, and that means that See Here are going to match it with another 5,000. So now for the cheque. On behalf of the BBC and See Here.
Wow, that's great. I want to thank all the viewers of See Here and everybody who's supported me. It's a huge relief now that all the work is done. It saved me a lot more work. I'm glad it's all over, thank you.
I want to see more subtitles because I want to see more of it. I think this should be happening all the time. Hearing people are able to hear the programmes, deaf people use their eyes, so we should be able to have that. I want to see television that hearing people can watch and have sign language on it so I know what they're saying. Hello and welcome to the demonstration. The reason we're here is for the lobby of MPs down here at the House of Commons. As you can see, there are a lot of deaf people here today. Also, other people around the country have written to their MPs, and there are others inside already hoping to meet their MPs. These people have all come down here because they have concerns that the broadcasting bill, which is now being discussed in law, should include certain amendments which they hope will become law. Should that actually happen, it means that deaf and hard of hearing people's needs for access to television will have been recognised. The amendments mean that after the introduction of digital television, which will happen soon, within 10 years of that, the law says that 95% of programmes must be subtitled and 10% of programmes must include sign language presentation and interpretation. So now I'm going to ask these deaf people what they think about that. Hi, can I ask you why you've come down here today? Well, the reason I'm here for the lobby is because I want to see more subtitling and more sign language on television. Deaf people have a right of access. I'd like to see more subtitling, and I'd like to see more BSL sign language. In the programmes that I like, my favourites, I'd like to see subtitling, but they're usually too quick, so I'd like to have sign language so I can understand them. The reason I'm here, I think it's really important to campaign for subtitles because I believe it's part of education and a way of learning English. So far, I feel I've learned a lot from subtitles. I've learned words, and doing without that, I feel, it wouldn't work. I think people need to be campaigning. I'm going to be meeting my MP, and I'm waiting for that. If these amendments do actually become law, they'll have a huge impact on the lives of deaf people. Now, the person who introduced the amendments is Robert Hughes over here, who is the MP for Harrow North, and I'm going to be chatting with him now. I'd like to ask you, why do you think the government's opposed to this?
They're always concerned about anything that will make the companies not viable. And so if it adds to the costs, the government don't want to impose that on the companies. I think they're wrong, and I hope they will realise that they're wrong before we come to the next stage of the bill in Parliament.
Well, whatever does happen, one thing is certain, this is not the end. There are already broadcast and television companies talking excitedly about the digital revolution in television. And this time, deaf people are determined that they're not going to miss out. This is Paul Redfern here at the House of Commons for